Picture the moon in about 20 years, the mid-2040s. Two commercial pilots guide their spacecraft toward an orbiting station. The faces of their four paying passengers are pressed to the small windows that offer a view of the stark, gray-brown lunar surface below. The passengers are research engineers, developing the factory for producing solar panels from the silicon in the moon's soil. Making the panels in space for use on the many rovers, robots, and satellites up here is cheaper than launching them from Earth. It promises to become a vital business. Pause for a few seconds and support me with a subscribe. After rendezvousing with a surface shuttle contractor and transferring their passengers, the pilots pick up another fare. A pair of technicians upgrading a pay-per-minute lunar communications network before heading back to Earth's orbit. There's seemingly no shortage of customers in need of a ride from NASA, sure, but also from universities, corporations, and other national space agencies pursuing scientific breakthroughs, business ventures, or frequently both. There are tourists, too, who hop on rovers for excursions from their high-end adventure resort to visit the historic Apollo 11 landing site. A handful of other lunar outposts support a small but growing population of intrepid humans. The largest is home to engineers who maintain a fleet of robots that mine the moon's deposits of water ice, which are refined to produce propellant and oxygen for spacecraft to purchase at the station in orbit. Elsewhere on the surface, geologists are researching the origins of the universe by studying layers of rock and remains of meteors. Nearby stands an industrial park, where a new ceramics factory converts lunar dust into electronics parts and construction materials to expand this nascent off-world civilization. And a reality TV show is being filmed inside one of the habitats, with hatchway trysts caught by ever-present cameras. Such visions have been fixed in the capitalist minds of the aerospace industry for decades, persisting even after the U.S. government all but abandoned lunar exploration in 1972. By then, the Cold War imperative to spend money on moonshots had faded. The United States had won the space race, and President Richard Nixon scrapped the final missions of the Apollo program. Early plans to build a lunar base were shelved, and for the next 30 years, NASA's attention was focused on establishing a foothold in Earth's orbit with the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station. It was easy to ignore the moon. The reasons to return, such as uncovering clues to how the solar system formed or simply satisfying humanity's innate impulse to explore, remained lofty but murky. Even after George W. Bush launched the Constellation Moonshot program. In 2004, his administration underfunded it. Then Barack Obama killed it in 2011. Yet the moon has an enduring value, one that any real estate agent would recognize: location. It's the closest celestial body to Earth, just a few days away if the trip is planned correctly. Establishing a permanent presence there makes sense, as a first step in humanity's becoming a multiplanetary species, and in ensuring our survival in case of a global calamity. And it would be smarter to learn lessons about the risks of living in deep space with support or rescue relatively nearby. The fires of lunar commerce were finally stoked again in 2017. During the first Donald Trump administration, China had announced its own moonshot and successfully landed an uncrewed rover on the lunar surface. The United States had to move quickly if it wished to maintain a claim on the moon's future. This led, in 2019, to NASA's announcement of the Artemis program, a slate of missions that could lay the groundwork for a permanent outpost. By then, American spaceflight was becoming an increasingly commercial enterprise. NASA aimed to save money and spur innovation through competition among traditional aerospace contractors and scrappy startups. During the Bush administration, the space agency started outsourcing ISS cargo deliveries to the private sector. That program was deemed so successful that it was expanded to include flying astronauts to the station via SpaceX, and less successfully so far, Boeing crafts. With Artemis, the public-private strategy was extended into deep space missions. While astronauts will launch on a government-built rocket, They will descend to the lunar surface in landers owned and operated by private firms. SpaceX, based in Texas, and Blue Origin, based elsewhere, but with significant launch facilities in far west Texas, are racing to be ready for the program's first crewed landing during the Artemis III mission, with a target of 2027. The opportunity for smaller startups like Firefly to get in on the action came in 2018, when NASA announced its intention to use contractors to send a flotilla of robotic landers to the lunar surface. The program was called Commercial Lunar Payload Services, or CLPS, pronounced CLIPS. The goal was to prove that commercial firms could deliver the cargo necessary to support the Artemis missions. They're trying to create a FedEx and UPS for sending packages to the surface of the moon, explains Casey Dreyer, Chief of Space Policy for the Planetary Society, the California-based scientific advocacy group, co-founded by Carl Sagan. Let's pause for a few seconds and give me a like for this video. Thank you so much. China is going full throttle in its quest to land astronauts on the moon by 2030. That was clearly evident in an August 15th ground test of the first stage propulsion system of the Long March 10th, CZ-10, the new rocket that China is building to send people toward the moon. A variant launcher is the Long March 1, which will launch China's Mengzhu piloted spacecraft and uncrewed Tianzhou freighter to further utilize and evolve the country's Tiangong space station in Earth orbit. The August test firing involved a shortened mock-up of the CZ-10's first stage, outfitted with a cluster of 7 YF-100K engines running on liquid oxygen and kerosene fuel. 4 of the YF-100K engines are fixed in place, while the other 3 can swivel to control the rocket's flight. The engines roared for about 35 seconds, using a new CZ-10 launch pad at the Wenshang Satellite Launch Center in Hainan Province. The thrust scale in the test reached nearly 1,000 tons, a record for China's space program. Su Hongping, an engineer with the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, CSE, told state-run broadcaster CCTV that the first stage and boosters of the Long March 10 rocket are what we call the Universal Core Stage, which essentially consists of 3 identical core modules bundled together. Peng Yu, also an engineer with CAC, told CCTV that conducting a power system test is one of the most critical steps in rocket development. It mainly assesses the thermal and mechanical environment, created by simultaneously operating 7 engines on a 5-meter diameter core stage. It's also a key step to ensure system compatibility and to mitigate risks ahead of the rocket's maiden flight. The recent static fire test of the Long March 10 follows a progression of other humans-to-the-moon milestones notched this year by China. For example, there was a successful pad abort test of the Mengzhu crewed spacecraft on June 17th. According to CCTV, Mengzhu's escape engine ignited, then propelled the capsule tower assembly upward. About 20 seconds later, the return capsule separated from the escape tower at a predetermined altitude. 2 minutes later, the capsule parachuted safely into a designated area using an airbag cushioning system. It was the country's first zero-altitude escape test for a manned spacecraft in 27 years. Following a similar test for the Shenzhou spacecraft in 1998, CTV explained. Then, on August 6th, China conducted a simulated takeoff and landing of its 2-person Lanyu lunar lander at the extraterrestrial celestial landing test site in Zhangjiakou, Hebei Province. This same site was used in 2019 to test the Tianwen-1 Mars lander that carried the Zhurong rover. Zhurong, China's first-ever Mars rover, studied the red planet's Utopia Planitia, a vast plane in which NASA's Viking 2 spacecraft also landed in the 1970s from May 2021 to May 22. Lanyu is designed to carry 2 astronauts between lunar orbit and the lunar surface. It can also tote a lunar rover and scientific payloads to support astronaut stay time and activities on the moon. Chinese lunar missions will also use Mengzhu spacecraft. which will fly astronauts to lunar orbit and remain there while Lanyu descends to the surface. The August 6th test validated the lander's lunar touchdown and takeoff system, control plan, lunar contact shutdown procedures, and the compatibility of interfaces between subsystems, including guidance, navigation, control, and propulsion. According to the China Manned Space Agency, CMSA, Lanyu will serve as the Lunar Life Center, Energy Center, and Data Center for astronauts after they land on the Moon, and can support lunar residence and activities. Speaking of astronauts landing on the Moon, last September, CMSA unveiled the country's lunar spacesuit. The spacesuit consists of protective materials to shield astronauts from the lunar thermal environment and pervasive lunar dust, CMSA explained. It is equipped with an easy-to-operate, multifunctional integrated control panel, as well as cameras for recording close-up and long-distance scenes. The spacesuit also features flexible gloves, a panoramic glare-proof helmet visor, and joints adapted for low-gravity environments. The overall design of the spacesuit is lightweight and suitable for activities on the lunar surface. Be it using a ladder to get down to the lunar surface from Lanyu, or walking, squatting, bending over, and kneeling on the gray dirt. As I gaze upon these advancements, my heart swells with the profound realization that we're not just engineering machines, we're crafting the bridge to humanity's cosmic destiny. The sheer audacity of China's lunar spacesuit, a guardian against the Moon's merciless vacuum, allowing astronauts to kneel in that ancient dust, touching the echoes of creation itself. But this is merely the prelude. The symphony of progress thunders on. Yet, the emotion runs deeper. Amid NASA's Artemis delays with SpaceX's Starship grappling setbacks and Blue Origin's lander lagging, China's momentum whispers a stark truth. They might beat us back to the Moon. Analyst Dean Cheng warns, it means the end of American exceptionalism, a gut-wrenching reminder that space isn't a solo race, but a shared human epic. Picture the Moon's South Pole, rich in water ice, becoming a hub for international outposts by 2035 under China's International Lunar Research Station. Geologists unearthing solar system secrets, factories forging habitats from dust. It's intoxicating. But let's not despair. Let's ignite passion. The Moon calls to our exploratory soul, urging unity. As we refine propellants from ice and build communication networks, we're not just surviving, we're thriving beyond Earth. China's strides confirm Sifai's promise. A multiplanetary future is within grasp. Will we answer the call or watch from afar? The lunar dawn breaks. Let's step into its light, hearts ablaze with wonder.